Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Political Brown Kid, also known as PBK for short. And what I want to do is introduce to you a acronym, should I say. It's also a word, but it's also an acronym that I use here, and it is something that I invented. So if you hear it in the street, you know where it originated from. It originated from the Political Brown Kid, and that acronym is MORON. And the acronym is just how it's spelled, MORON, and it means pretty much exactly what the definition of a moron is. If you look it up in the Webster's dictionary, if you think of an imbecile, if you think of an idiot, that's what a moron is. But it's probably more so specifically directed towards race and racial issues. So the acronym MORON stands for Misguided Oratory or Oration of Racially Ornate News. That is misguided oratory or oration of racially ornate news. And it is pretty much just someone who just blabs off at the mouth, talking really nonsense, idiotic nonsense about race and racial relations and racial issues that they pretty much don't even understand. And I like to dedicate this, or I like to really put individuals, non-black individuals, in this moron category. We have another term to describe black people who give out misguided information on racially ornate news, and we'll talk about that. I'm going to have posts on that in a few. But to start off and to give the very first moron status to someone, I'm going to give it to Bill Maher. Yeah, and you guys may be saying, oh, well, Bill Maher, he is one of us, or he is a liberal. He's so open, and he believes in racial equality, and he understands the black plight. And I will challenge you, and I will say, no, he does not. He sympathizes with blacks on a particular level, but then he just totally misses the point. And that is the problem with a lot of the liberal whites who think that they're down with the cause and think they're down with the quote unquote brothers and sisters, and they understand the black plight and they're in the trenches with the black people. They're actually, most of them, I'll say most of them, they actually miss the point. And sometimes it's best that if you're a white person, sometimes it's best to just step back and say, you know what? I need to just shut the hell up for a second. And I need to just, defer to a black person in regards to, specific topics. So this is why I want to give Bill Maher the moron. I want to give him the very first moron award from Political Brown Kid. A few years ago, and this is when Barack Obama was president, I do believe, and Barack had caught a whole lot of flack from everything. You had senators or politicians, should I say. I don't know if they were senators, governors, or what, but you had political figures who knew better. They're well over 40, so they knew better with what they were doing, sending out pictures of gorillas and monkeys and equating it to either Barack or Michelle. You had, one white female wagging her finger in President Barack Obama's face when he got off the plane. He just caught a lot of flack, and just every day when you listen to conservative news, all you could hear was just how much they hated him and what a failure he was as a president, according to them. And so, and like I say, I get Bill Maher on certain things, and I understand where he's coming from, and he has done some good things with his platform. But then you have his platform, and mind you, he has a big platform. And typically, when I watch Bill Maher, I know he does comedy specials all over, but typically when I'm engaging and watching Bill Maher, I'm watching him on his HBO, Late Night with Bill Maher show that comes on. And he has this big platform. He has this big following, and people who are into politics and into socioeconomic issues, and people who, I'm assuming these people are liberals, they're watching this, and and a lot of times these people aren't sophisticated mentally. They may have degrees and they may be smart people, but some people they grasp onto just because they see someone on television or someone that is a celebrity, and they grasp onto what these individuals say. and they hold it as gospel. And that's why I'm kind of coming at Bill Maher and giving him this moron status. And so let me back up, and I kind of digressed a little bit just to kind of give you a little bit of context of why it's important for me to kind of correct these morons and what they're saying. So the first thing that stood out to me was, like I said, years ago, Barack was catching hell. So Bill Maher says on his show, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, and I don't know which episode it was. Trust me, I tried to find it. I tried to go and dig through the archives, but he does a lot of shows. And to be honest with you, I don't know what year this happened. But he says on his platform, he was just like, well, he was kind of upset that Barack was catching hell, which is a good thing. He's upset. He's down for the cause. But then he turns and then he says, well, it's not going to matter because, in a few years, all of us are going to look like Mariah Carey and, boom, 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 boom. So what he's doing is he's insinuating here that, basically, black people and white people are going to basically intercourse our way out of racism. Pretty soon we'll just be banging each other. So it's going to be an interracial orgy of blacks and whites, and we'll produce these super babies, which I have a podcast on super babies. You can learn more about that. And the world will be saved because there will be no existence of black people or white people. We'll all just be people of various genetic constructs. It's a very ignorant statement. It's a very ignorant statement. Everyone wants to, and Dr. Henry Louis Gates did a special on this. It's called whitewashing. What they want to do is, and they did this during the slave times, is, and you got to watch the Henry Louis Gates. He used to do them on PBS, the docu-series on Africans and race and slavery. And he talks about how, I think in the Latin America and Caribbean, what they tried to do was they had all of these blacks, all of these Africans who were suddenly, I think, free, or they were on the cusp of being freedom because slavery was kind of dying out, waning out, or it was, it's on its way out. So they said, we don't want to have all these blacks running around. So let's just breed them out. Let's just put in a bunch of white men and have them go at it and have them breed out breed with the black women, these bed wenches. That's what they're called. They're bed wenches. And let's just go in and breed them, and they'll have little lighter babies, and then we can just breed out the blacks. And that is basically what Bill Maher and with a lot of other people in America, and even some of these ignorant blacks, they want to do. They want to breed out blackness. And that is that's the first misstep of Bill Maher that I had a problem with. The second problem that I had with Bill Maher was, of course, when he made the joke, he had a misstep and he used the joke and he said, I'm a house N-word, right? And so then he caught all kind of hell. Everyone hit the ceiling because he used the N-word, right? And he called himself a house N-word, and basically a white man trying to, equate his hardships to the black experience, specifically the slave experience. And he came out and did an apology, of course. But then Ice Cube comes onto the show, and then Ice Cube goes in on him. And Ice Cube says, but when Ice Cube comes in and sits down, Ice Cube's like, man, that joke that you said, it wasn't cool. And you can look at Bill Maher's face that Bill Maher was perturbed. Like, how dare you? It's over. And then you had a lot of other people on his panel trying to come at him for his negative usage of the N-word and for the bad joke, the bad form that he had with that joke. And Bill Maher, as soon as he started getting attacked for his misstep on race, he immediately went on the defensive, and you could tell he was annoyed, getting defended, and he's just going in on people. And, he's very annoyed. He doesn't want to talk about it. He wanted to brush it off. And since it's his platform, of course, he's able to shut people down. So then what does he do? I think he gets, it could have been, who's the very smart Princeton guy? I forget his name at the present time, but we all know black guy, very smart, likes to throw out 10-syllable words that, when he talks, you have to look in a dictionary and figure out, decipher what the hell he just said to you in a sentence. Cornel West wrote the book Race Matters. He had either Cornel West or it could have been Henry Louis. He had someone on his show, a very prominent black person. He got that black person to come on his show and, kind of give him a little lecture, don't do that, wag your finger at him. And it was and this black guy, he really sold out because he went up there and just started giving Bill Maher all these props. And he's supposed to be sitting up here, educating Bill Maher on race and the usage of the N-word. And it just turns into a big, kissing Bill Maher's feet, a bootlicking contest as far as I was concerned. And Bill Maher sitting up there while the guy's talking to him. He's kind of got this little smile on his face, this little, he's trying to hide this smile. But again, this is the second misstep. You make a mistake on race. You think that you're so comfortable and down with black people that you can throw out these terms. You get called out for it. And now you're mad. You're angry because you don't feel as though, because you think that you're white and you're down and in the cause, that, you're some kind of modern day abolitionist, that you don't have to abide by the same rules or laws that other whites do. And again, you're perpetuating and sending a message to your followers and to people who listen to you. So that is the second misstep or oration on race that Bill Maher perpetuates. Now let's talk about the final one that I want to talk about, which really kind of perpetuated me to, give him the title of being a moron. And that was Marianne Williamson. I think that's her name. Marianne Williamson. She's an author. She ran for the presidential position. She was a presidential candidate in the 2020 election race. Like I said, she's an author. Doesn't have a background in politics as far as I know, and people just didn't expect her to do well at all. Everyone was really kind of like, yeah, and then there's Marianne Williamson, laughing her kind of off, like they did Al Sharpton, which was wrong when Al Sharpton ran for president in I think that was 1990s, when Al Sharpton ran. But they brushed Marianne Williamson off. But one thing I can say about Marianne Williamson, she had a little bit of headwind behind her, and she started really doing well because she started hitting on some points, and she really had some, not only points, but she had specifics and clarity behind her points, specifically around race relations. And she said, yeah, I am all for reparations for blacks and descendants of slaves in America. And she even, not only did she have that viewpoint, she even went a step further than any of the 16, 18, 25, 35. It was a whole bunch of candidates, similar to the Republican candidate, the 2016 when Donald Trump ran. There was so many of them, but for the Democratic field, she was the only one that not only did she have that viewpoint, but she was able to get more specific and have specificity by saying, given a number, I forget what the number was. It was like $1 trillion, maybe $2 trillion. I don't know, but she had a dollar amount associated to say, this is what the payout is going to be, and this is what I think that we can allocate to the budget for reparations. Soon as she did that, her numbers really skyrocketed. She got a lot of media attention around that, and her poll favorability went up. So now here comes the misguided orator of racially ornate news. He gets on his show, and he even has her on the show. But I don't know if it was when he had her on the show, but I know that he talked about it. And then he's like, well, I don't know if we can pay these blacks. We can't pay these folks. Come on now, $2 trillion? Are we a trillion? I don't even know what the number was. But, come on, we can't pay this. This is absurd to pay these people. I like black people, but giving them money? Hell, why don't, that's just, and again, here it is. This is a man that has a platform that's speaking for liberal Democrats or liberal people in this country. He has millions of people watching him. And you don't think that you can pay out blacks. And this is the problem that I have with America, is that they come in and they say, oh, we love black people, oh, blacks. I'm such a big fan of black people. And they always say this until it comes time to talk about reparations or giving us a financial due and allowing us to increase our power economically and putting us on an equal level with whites. Then the problem comes, oh, we can't do that. We don't have $1 trillion. But here it is. We're in 2020. We're in the middle of a COVID pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, coronavirus, whatever you want to call this thing. We are in the middle of a pandemic, and here you have the government, the federal government of the United States of America, printing up 2 billion, 3 billion. There's no limit to the amount of money they're willing to print for white people, Asian people, black people, and all other races in between that live in this country. They're just like, okay, we're just going to print money up because people are out of work. People need jobs. People need to, we need to do something to get the economy going. So as long as everyone else is getting a check, they're printing out, they just sent $1,200 to every American that filed their taxes. And they're giving money to businesses. And mind you, we're talking about a Republican government now. We're talking about a Republican government that owns the Republican, I think, House, right? House or Senate. I don't give a damn which one they control. But we're talking about a Republican president, a Republican vice president, a Republican-controlled House or Senate, and even the Democrats. Now everyone's on board with saying, oh, 2 trillion, 3 trillion. Hey, man, just somebody tell the Treasury Department to print out more money. Just print it. Just print up another $3 billion and put it in circulation. That's perfect. Now they can print money at will and come up with 2 trillion, 3 trillion, $4 trillion because they need money. And this is, again, coming from Republicans, supposed to be the fiscally conservative, supposed to be the capitalists, supposed to be the, well, businesses fail, businesses, the government doesn't do bailouts. We don't do socialism. So, businesses either going to sink or swim, but yet they can print out $2-3 trillion. And Bill Maher doesn't have a problem with that. Nobody else has a problem with that. But when it comes to giving black people $1 trillion to divvy up amongst 30 million blacks that live here, there's a problem. They have a problem with paying us. They didn't have a problem with paying the Asian Americans that were put in the camps during World War II, I do believe. They didn't have a problem with giving Native Americans. Native Americans definitely deserve it because this is their damn land, and they've just been forced to they're probably on about 1,000 acres somewhere out west, but they had no problem paying them. But the people who literally built this country, who built the White House, who built every structure in Washington, D.C., and built every structure up north, down south, east and west, they have a problem with paying. And to this day, you have people like Bill Maher spouting ignorance about reparations. He doesn't want to pay it because now now he's talking monetary value and potentially having black people have financial resources to create their own businesses, Fortune 500 businesses, and creating generational wealth for their people. He doesn't want that. He can't conceive America paying out that type of money, but he doesn't have a problem with COVID-19 pandemic and payouts for that. So that is why I wanted to give Bill Maher the Moron Award, the Misguided Oration of Racially Ornate News, the Misguided Oratory of Racially Ornate News. I wanted to just give him that status because I think it is well deserved. And I think that he needs to do better, as well as there are a lot of other people, black and white, that need to do better as far as spouting out ignorance out of their mouth. So this is the Political Brown Kid. Continue to look for me and look for other posts that I've put out there, other podcasts. Thanks for listening.